Hello friends, how are you today? This is going to be amazing. I have some awesome, incredible information and insights to share with you that I'm really excited about. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you, about three things today, okay? I want to talk about this image in the chart. I want to talk about these fine lines in the chart that look like the technological effect returning. I want to talk about some spiritual information that correlates with this. And then I want to show you the meaning of this image interpreted by looking also at what is going on in the astrology today. So it's kind of really exciting because I'm going to tie all these things together. And I just did my first video like this. This is my most recent, my last video, where I talked about how I saw comparisons between the gateway that showed in astrology and the gateways that showed in the Schumann. It was so incredible. So I'll link that below. Video link. All right, so here we go. Ready? Basic overview, okay? The Schumann resonance is a non-physical energy in the air around us from the surface of the planet into the atmosphere. It is in a Hertz range, that's the measurement, of 0 to 40, which you see right here on the left. And this Hertz range is in the same range as human brain waves. There are reasons why I feel that this map in front of us, essentially this image, is a image of human consciousness. It has to do with a lot of factors, actually, besides the brainwave factor. And I go through all those in the beginning playlist. There's also reasons why I feel astrology comes into play here, both in its effect on humans, who may be part of generating this, number one, and number two, in its electromagnetic effect on the solar system and Earth. So let's just dive in. But first, if you could like the video, if you could share it, please, and then if you could subscribe, that'd be super. I am hosting a live stream tomorrow on YouTube, which is Friday, December 17th at 11:44 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're around, it would be super wonderful and great to see you there. Yay! Here's the Schumann. And you can see, if you've looked at the chart for a long time, that there's some major things. This big line here at 20 Hertz started around the solar eclipse on December 4th. Let's go back and look at that. Okay, here was the eclipse and the new moon peak. Okay, I made a mistake and I called it the full moon in the last video, and then I had to go everywhere I could in the comments and description, etc., and say it was the new moon. But here's the thing. I tend to, when I'm interpreting, okay, I'm doing a spirit and science approach, so an intuitive approach, but also I look at the technicals, and the scientific information. And so it's hard to go from a mental state to an intuitive state back and forth. And, you know, sometimes I'm just too much in the woo-woo and do stuff like that. But I'm going to maybe make a video about it, actually, about making mistakes. Okay, so here's where it started, okay? And it was interesting because you had this, and what I'm wondering now, you had these vertical lines. And now I'm wondering, is this like a horizontal technological effect? And it's interesting because it started around here, okay? And it started with this big energy. And the red amplitude had risen throughout the day. There was some dramatic stuff going on that we've talked about a lot, about the red resonance. So I'm not going to go into that too much right now. But here is the spiritual information that I wanted to share with you about this. And this comes from my friend Alex, okay, because we have been looking at these charts for a long time. And when the first technological effect, when it first started, really being in our awareness, and we were just looking at it, she talked about something called Sodashi's wave. And Alex is very, very familiar with what's called the Mahavidyas, and they are 10 forms of Kali. Okay, so this is Hindu spiritual information. Kali is a Hindu goddess, and one of the things that I love about the Hindu spiritual information is that they really give huge credit and time. Like, they really give a lot of space and time to the goddesses and the divine feminine and the power of the divine feminine. And if you know anything about, the Hindu stories, the divine feminine is very powerful, and she is very powerful. But in Western civilization, the power and the beauty of the feminine has been really, really, well, it just seems like it's been trampled on, doesn't it? And you'd think with feminism that wouldn't be the case, but feminism seems to have become, this is just my point of view, it's an opinion, an inversion of itself. Okay, so it's just completely, I don't want to go into political discussions, but it has become an inversion of itself, in my view. And when energies are inverted, that's when they have been co-opted by forces of chaos, forces of darkness, because that's a sign. Turning things inside out is a sign of those energies are at play. And those energies tend to be anti-life and anti-human. Well, they use the human to play with, right? To play out their purposes or their games or whatever. But okay, so let's keep going here. All right, so what Alex said, and then she messaged me when the tech effect came up in the current chart. I'm going to show you that. But she said, Susan, Shodashi, which is one of the Mahavidyas, one of the 10 forms of the goddess Kali, that Shodashi is on duty at the moment. And now the person who tracks this is Laura Walker at the Oracle Report. So you can go to oraclereport.com and check out her amazing information. Okay, she's just an amazing astrologer. I've never met her or talked to her, but I've studied her work, and and similar to some of you have messaged me and told me that you are studying my work, and I think that's wonderful. But I've studied her work, and then I have also been taught some of the techniques by another friend who does astrology, her Andrea. But anyway, so what Alex was telling me, and then I went and I checked Laura's information, and it is sometime around this time, definitely by December 6th, Laura says that Shodashi is on duty. So she has an email list, and you can go there. You can donate $5 a month or whatever, or I think she also does it for free now. But it's really interesting information. Now, here's what I love about her approach, and it's so different from other astrologers. And this definitely, in my view, relates to the Schumann, so stick with me here, okay? Because it's about energy and energies that affect the human being, right? And that we swim in. Many of these energies are presented to us, or it's a divinity coming through us, being interpreted. That's how I see energy. Whether it's on the Schumann with all these, data points and graphs, or whether it's in the astrology with the data points being planetary energies, right? And how those might affect each individual or the group as a whole. But what I love about the way she talks about energy, is she acknowledges, and her whole approach is how the 0.01% or the cabal have used these energies to make moves and take advantage of humanity. And so it's interesting because when you listen to other astrologers and they're talking about, like right now, they're talking about, oh, this is an important time. Here are the other things that have happened going back decades, right? And it could be about pandemics, or it could be about other stuff, okay? And what I love about this approach, okay, is it because astrologers will say, oh, this happened, so we have to watch out for that. But what Laura says is these are the activities that this cabal has inflicted upon humanity. And this is what they might try. But here's the thing, that those forces of darkness, or who represent forces of darkness through human beings, just because someone wants something, now this is my interpretation, it doesn't mean that they're going to get it. Because as humanity awakens, as we connect with our creative God force, we become the dominant energy on the planet, okay? No longer to be toyed with. That's what happens when you claim your divine authority as a living soul. So this is just, whew, can you feel the energy? It's just so powerful. This is such a powerful concept. And so when people say, well, this happened before, I think that, looking at that approach of, well, before we were under attack, okay, and maybe we're still under attack now. Maybe the forces of darkness and the forces of light are going at each other, and here we are, human beings, and these forces flow through us. But if we're aware of these things, and we can claim our authority and decline to participate, we can decline that action. We can say, I do not consent, okay? And then the divine, we can do that most powerfully when we're in alignment with divine will through us and the highest good through us, okay? And it's on an individual, personal level how you determine that. And I've talked about that, but it's about getting back into connection with your own soul, in my view. And you could say it's about getting back into connection with God, the Most High, the creator of the universe, through you. Whether that's in a prayerful state, doing prayer work, whether that's in a meditative state, like more of a Buddhist approach, which is getting centered and clearing the mind, or whether it's in a 0 point state with it, which is an energy work or light work perspective, okay? Okay, now, what does this mean? Sodashi's wave comes in and clears the field in alignment with the highest good. Now, I'm going to quote Laura here, and you can go back and look through her archives and see what she says about these forces. So here, I took so many copious notes the other day about this, but I just want to, well, first of all, Shodashi, in researching that goddess, she is responsible, this is what the Hindus believe, for the whole existence of the cosmos. So this is the base creative force. The divine force, like the source, right? Who is feminine in this interpretation. She sees through the illusion, and what Laura says is she rewrites lifelines. She disempowers energetics and imprints from the past. She clears the field. This is Laura's description of Sodashi's wave, okay? So, like I said, you can go to her website and check that out. She is, according to the Hindus, the wisdom goddess who fulfills the highest desire and the destroyer of the demi urge, or the archon, so the head archon. So this is incredibly powerful divine energy. Now, it's interesting that this horizontal technological effect, okay, let's say that Alex is correct seeing the Shodashi's wave in the Schumann energy, okay? And it did start around the time that Shodashi became the main influence, according to Laura Walker. Okay, now let's go and look at today. And actually, let's see here. It actually started, the horizontal one started where I showed you, but then you see here, see this vertical one? It starts a few days later. Here we are on about the 13th, it looks like, yeah. Starts right here at the 13th and 14th, right when we get these vertical lines that came into play here. Now let's go to today's chart and interpret this energy. All right, so here you see the technological effect in full force. And it's interesting because these light lines of the technological effect have occurred before. And last time they were here in the low hertz. And I have to wonder, is this a wave that is affecting or clearing something from our energetic state of being, like planetary wide? I know, it's big, right? It's a big idea. But let's just ask it. Let's just ask, and now you see it here. It's accumulated. It's very, very potent here around 10 hertz. I'm making an estimate. And then it's very potent here in up until about 20 hertz. Okay. And here, if it's here, it's faded into the background. But you can definitely see it on the chart here and here. Now, 10 hertz here. Let's see, 8, yeah. This is in the alpha range, which is observation alpha brain waves of humanity, and 20 hertz is you're deep in the beta, you're in mid beta here, you know, because the beta range starts at around, I don't know, 12, maybe 15 hertz, and it's about integrating thinking, critical thinking. But once you start to get into mid beta, that really starts to get more charged up and you're more deep into integration and analysis. So we're not only aware, but we're thinking about what we're perceiving. Okay. And at the same time, you have this technological effect operating at these brainwave levels. Isn't that interesting? And in my early technological effect videos, and especially the 2-hour one, my first one on the technological effect playlist, I do have a playlist of my videos where I focus most of the video on the technological effect. So I talked about how I felt like, and I explained in detail the scientific concepts about how an energy wave of the technological effect, if it's technological or if it's natural, it doesn't matter because the same possibility exists. I explained how it might be sort of moving through a frequency set and aligning in such a way that non-aligned frequencies are pulled out or removed. Now, let me give you an example in the living world, physical world, of something that you might be able to relate this with, because it will make more sense. Let's think about homeopathy. Okay, the way that homeopathy works is if you have something, you take a homeopathic remedy that is similar. And what it does is the homeopathic remedy creates a vibration within the body and energy field, and then only so much of that vibration essentially can be in your body and energy field, and it acts as a placebo, and whatever is causing the problem moves out. Okay, now this is really interesting because when I had in 2019, I had COVID. Okay, I had it very early. And at the end of all of this, I took tuberculinum. And that was, I was working with a registered actual homeopath, and she had to do a prescription for me, okay, because of that particular remedy. And it was amazing, okay, the beneficial effect that this had on my lungs. And that's the idea. It causes this, everything is energy. So even if you have something physical, it can cause that to sort of shake out of you. I'm just giving you my lay person's terms for this. I'm not a doctor nor a homeopath. So, you know, if you're interested in those kind of things, you should consult those kind of people for those kind of remedies. But energetically speaking, you know, it is just an incredible thing. And so that's what I'm saying, that a technological effect, could it potentially work on the brainwaves of humanity in a similar fashion? That's what I'm asking. Isn't that exciting and very interesting? So thank you, Alex, for your contribution here. She sent me some articles and other information. And then I did a bunch of studying on it as well on my own. So that was incredible. Okay. And that effect is right now continuing. We had this big line in the chart, some kind of, I don't know, is that a hard stop? We'll see. We'll see. And then we had this image here. And you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the flag image. I made a video recently because we recently had a flag image. If you go back down in the video list, you'll see it there. But what's interesting is, whereas the flags usually have the flagpole on this side, the flagpoles seem to be here or here. And in the last video, we talked about the flag separating from the pole, and that seems to definitely be the case here if we see the flagpole as being on the right. Now, what that would mean is that the flag is backwards, okay? And I can even see this as an American flag. You could see it as a different country, you know, because there's also stripes here. But you know, you could see it as other countries as well. Like I could even maybe imagine this as the Australian flag, which has a that image in the upper left, right? Now, here's the thing. When a flag is hung backwards like this, at least in American culture, this is a distress sign. So what I'm interpreting this image as is national distress, you know, globally national distress, that nations are under duress and distress, and that the people, therefore, are under distress. And I think that's pretty obvious that that's the case for a lot of us, but and at varying levels, right? But it's interesting because this reverse flag, as you can see here, coincided with a steady rise in the red amplitudes. Red, in my view, representing the denser energies over a 24-hour period. It was really something, okay? And thank you to the person on Twitter who pinged me with a copy of the image. That was cool. It was an interesting trend. And then it dipped, and then it rose again. So it dipped right here around 15, and then it rose again, and we had all this red in the chart here, okay? So, and of course we do have it here as well with the distressed, in my view, the distressed flag image. So it's interesting. There's noticeable red at 20 hertz and below, okay? And coincidentally, the same range that this vertical and horizontal technological effect is operating at. So what I would say is that what's being worked on here energetically, however that is people's perceptions. That's the energy of the times. Maybe we're generating this, okay? Maybe we are emitting the fact that we are under duress, okay? And that we are thinking about it. And we're observing what's going on, and we are weeding through what works and what doesn't, and what we like and what we don't like, and what we agree with and what we don't agree with. And, you know, there's one other thing that I want to talk about here, which I've been meaning to talk about. I talked about it a little bit, but I talked about on the last video the red resonance qualities and amplitudes or frequencies quite a bit, okay? But I really, really, really want to talk about this right now. We talked about how the red qualities are restricted, okay? They're in literally like a less than, 0.3 hertz range right now. And the red represents, in my view, our dense emotions, right? The shadow side of our personality, but also the shadow side of our greater societies and the forces of darkness. Now, here's the issue, okay? The issue is... The issue is that this is also, in my view, our fiery passion. And so to a certain extent, I feel like our fiery passion and our anger is either mitigated at the moment, or it's suppressed, or it's compressed, right? So when something's compressed, it can kind of, and then it goes, right? And then it explodes into some kind of action. So there's a question, is that what's happening? I don't know. Is it just suppressed? And is it conscious? Because we might consciously be holding ourselves back. We might consciously be saying, we're going to really think about what our actions are here. We're not going to go all willy-nilly and do things that we might regret, okay? We want to have measured responses, right? So that could be going on. And if it's conscious, then it's not bouncing around like that because we're even keeled. So, or maybe both things are happening, okay? But I just think that it's so interesting, and it's interesting because energetically, let's take a look at, so wait, before I move on to that, what I want to say is what this means is that as individuals, we want to be conscious about what we care about and where we feel we need to act, whether that's in our private lives or at work, or however, whatever that's like. It could be prayer. It could be initiating some kind of action. It could be talking to people. But I think it needs to be intentional in these energies right now, and that really goes along well with this idea about a focus in on observing, and then integrating our thinking. That really goes along well with the energy showing on the spectrogram image part of the chart, right? That we might be really considering things here, okay? But what it means is that in my view, that if we want something to happen in our lives, now even on an individual level, it takes conscious application of effort, meaning you can't just sit around and hope that stuff happens that you like, okay? You have to just, and it can be consistent effort, okay? For example, in my business, okay, there's specific things that I want to do, and I can tell the overall energies aren't there yet for big creation. So I'm just like step by step. I'm just walking through it. I'm just putting things in place, and relationships step by step. I'm just connecting with people. I'm just, making the connections that are important right now, and thinking about what those are and what the qualities of those are. And there's other things I'm doing too. Okay, so that's just an example, one person. Okay, but that's what I'm saying is that I feel like this period right now the energies are so special because I just have this feeling that what we do this with, what we put consistent effort into right now, it's going to pay off big. Okay, both as we go into the natural new year in March, April, and then when we come around, I showed you the gate on my last Schumann video where I talked about astrology and the gate that appeared, and the gate and the Schumann. But it kind of looked like where we touch those gate energies again are in like August, September of 2022. So I really feel like the effort you put in now, and it has to really be like conscious and consistent, right? Because our passion is more muted right now. So make an effort if you want to have something come to fruition later. I mean, that's always good advice, I guess. But just in these energies, I think that this can go with a feeling of helplessness. Oh, I just can't, I can't do this, that, give me all your excuses. Okay, no, don't give it to me. Give it to God. Okay, no, cancel, clear that. I have enough of my own problems and issues. But, give that to God, because the power is here for creation. And I'm going to address that in my next astrology video. Now, let me show you something on the astrology that coordinates or corroborates with this reversed flag image here. So this is the astrology chart for today, and I have it set for San Francisco. So if you live in another part of the world, or if you live in another part of the country, the ascendant and midheaven and some of these, calculated points will be slightly different. But if you're in the San Francisco area or on the West Coast, the houses would relate, much more closely with where the energies come out. But you have to kind of be into astrology in a bigger way for that to even matter. So I'm not going to address that. We're only going to address the big themes that relate to the distressed flag on the Schumann in this video. So this is what I want to show you. Look here, okay? And this is Ant Eros. Ant Eros is Ant Eros. Eros being the god of passionate love, romantic love, like hot, juicy love, And Ant Eros is, muted, much more muted. Now, Ant Eros can be seen as the opposite of love or the lack of love, okay? And now I want to show you something here. It is squaring exactly today the sun. The sun is at 25 degrees, 25:04. Ant Eros is at 25:05, okay? It is exact within 1 minute. So it is bang on the sun. So it's square, so it's a challenge. So you might be feeling sadness over past love relationships. You might be in a long-term relationship, because Ant Eros, in my view, is also about long-term loyal relationships. That's the positive of Ant Eros. Rather than quick, passionate love that doesn't last, which could be Eros, and in maybe the positive or negative, I don't know. Ant Eros, the opposite of that. A love that smolders for a long time, right? Loyal, long-term love. Okay, so if you're in that kind of a loyal, long-term love, there may be things that you're seeing, or the light of transparency, the soul is, you're looking at that and looking at where there are challenges for you in the relationship. Okay, thank God Ant Eros moves quickly, so don't worry, it's going to pass. It's taken about 2 weeks for it to get 5 degrees here. It was exactly on Neptune during the solar eclipse on December 3rd/4th and the new moon at that time. So this influence has been in effect, and it offers us, I think it kind of offers us this ability of feeling sad about these things, or feeling like loss, because it can also be love that's no longer present, someone who's passed on, a lover or a relationship where you've broken up. That could come back into view here for you to reconsider or think about, or remember that with love. And that sadness, okay, that long-term relationship where there's issues, when you bring it to a greater societal level, right, you could see it as a person's relationship with their culture, with their nation, and the fact that the nations are under stress and people are feeling that, and you could be sad about that. What's happening to my country, right? What's happening to my people? What's happening to my culture, right? Because a culture is an expression of long-term love. It's the expression of generations, right, of behavior of a people. So I just wanted to point that out to you. And, there's also this effect that's very emotional of Mars now opposing Sedna and the moon. Okay, and our emotions right now are right conjunct Sedna, the daughter whose father threw her overboard to save himself, the weak man. And here's Mars, the strong man, opposing this situation. Okay, but this situation right now, the moon is between the mother, Ceres, right here. Okay, here's Ceres, and here's the moon, and here's Sedna. So the mother, first there was rage about this, and I talked about this in my first December 3rd and 4th eclipse video about the rage of the mother, and that the healing of this is to heal the women, and then to bring the father back into the family and to heal the family. Well, so now Ceres has passed over the dragon's head, so now the rage has turned more to something more emotional, more concern and care for the daughter by the mother, more sadness, okay? Now, the daughter represents generations. And here she is at the bottom of the ocean, okay? And when we think about the generations that make up a nation, okay, there's sadness here. And that if the daughter's at the bottom of the ocean, she can't continue the generations, okay? So this reversed flag, the symbol of distress, how will we continue? Right? How are we going to continue? Now, with God, all things are possible. With Christ, all things are possible. Christ, the soul in human form, the Christ energy, the Christed energy. So the solution here is the connection with the God force and allowing God to shift this. That's how I view it, okay? Now, So there's issues here of mothers and daughters, of fathers who are absent, of how that negatively affects the home, and how that negatively affects the entire culture of a people, how it negatively affects the entire nation. It is a very sad thing. And the thing is that Ceres is in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, talking about this, okay? So for women to be taught, Ceres has been in Gemini this whole time, as is Lilith. So for women to be talking about these problems is a really good thing right now, because we've got to talk about it before we can solve it, okay? And you have here Mercury at 4 degrees in Capricorn, okay? In a square with Chiron, the wounded healer, all right, giving us, again, the power to talk about these things. And Mercury in Capricorn relates to nations. It relates to the structures that rule our lives, governments, okay, big picture systems. And so apparently we must be talking about this a lot in the background. Even on an individual level, because this is an individual, very personal effect here, right? So I just wanted to show you how the astrology energies like incredibly, perfectly relate with the image on the Schumann chart today. And there's one other thing I want to point out here. Lilith is conjunct Rigel. Now I talked about this in my second video about the Stargate for the December 3rd and 4th eclipse. And I say 3rd and 4th because depending on where you were in the world, it was on one of those 2 days. Now, Lilith is conjunct Rigel. I went into the esoteric information in the Stargate video, astrology video. So I'm not going to go into that now. But Rigel represents the military. It represents government. It represents law. Okay, this is a fixed star. So it goes along perfectly with, the mother being in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, Mercury being in Capricorn, the ruler of governments and systems, and now here's Lilith, okay, the unhappy woman, okay. She can be Karen on steroids here. That'd be weird, right? But this is a very unhappy Lilith at times, and she's conjunct Rigel. Now, what happens? She's opposing the home. So she's upset about what's going on in the home, which exactly mirrors what Ceres, the moon, and Sedna are going through at the moment. Except that she's with the strong man, Rigel. Okay? She's with a expression of a man who's a respected military officer. She's with the man who is a respected lawyer, who is a respected statesman. Okay? So the evolution of divine masculine in positive form, right? Because these are men who these are men who are like the men who founded our country. Right? I'm talking about the United States of America. They were statesmen, right? They were statesmen. They were looking at what is in alignment with the highest good. They brought God in to our founding documents, they talked about the divine and natural rights of man and women. Okay, now, why do I now present this in the positive, which is a slightly different interpretation than I talked about in the other video, the December 3rd and 4th Stargate video? Because, look here, now Metis, the goddess who is the wise counselor, because everybody has moved on the chart. So now Metis, the wise counselor, is conjunct the home. Good counsel is conjunct the home. And Nike, the asteroid of victory, has just gone over Metis and the home, because she's only, 16 to 22. That's it's about 6 degrees, 7 degrees. So it's a wide conjunction here. But Nike has recently gone over Vesta victory, and Nike is in 3 degrees of the sun and approaching the sun. So Nike's going to get closer and closer. Victory and the soul are going to unite shortly. And actually, no, I won't unveil anything about that yet. Okay, so these are positive energies. The wise counselor brings balance to the home, helps rectify the home, and that brings Lilith into her positive expression. Because when Lilith moderates her anger, when Metis and Lilith combine, when Metis and Lilith, right, both rise up, and you combine the power of those two, which is the healing of the opposition, you get a woman who is strong, who can get things done, and who works with her equally strong man to have a balanced home that honors the divine, Vesta, the flame of divinity in the temple, that honors the divinity within the home, that creates the space for a loving family, and that is at the basis of every culture. The family, the healed and whole, balanced home, which houses the family, is at the basis of our society. Dang, that's good, right? And that's the healing energy that would right the flag and put it back forward on the pole. Ooh, that's incredible. And I want to tell you, today is the 16th. This image came on the 16th. The 16th is the symbol of the tower. The tower in the tarot is a lightning striking the tower, crumbling it to the ground. That is very Plutonian energy combined with Uranian energy. Now, what Uranus is in trine with Mercury. So the ability to tell shocking stories quite suddenly, or for stories to come to our attention suddenly and rapidly that move in the positive in this situation, in this healing, or the potentiality of healing that we're talking about. And Pluto is in trine with the entire group down here, Sedna, the Moon, and Ceres. And why is Pluto acting beneficially? Pluto brings the soul light out of the ash, the phoenix that rises from the destruction. And Venus has just conjuncted Pluto. They were at the same degree for a few days. And now she's 1 degree past. Okay, so this creates a little anxiety. It first focuses on, what do I truly value that's in alignment with my soul? On November 19th, that lunar eclipse, and the moon plays a big deal in today's chart. At the lunar eclipse, the sun was sextile Pluto, so it shone the light of the soul. It emphasized that in the Plutonian energies. And now we have those energies once again being very prominent, supporting Sedna and the mother, reconnecting with the light of the soul, the light of God in the heart, rising up out of the ocean, walking back to land and creating a restored and healed home, Vesta. But as Venus passes Pluto, she worries if she's going to get or achieve what she values. She worries a little about it. Again, contributing to the anxiety and angst with the distress of the flag. Will my nation be restored? Will my culture survive? It all comes down to the personal, to healing ourselves, to healing the male and the female, and to healing our homes. The human resonance. It's all about the vibe.